So, have you completed or attempted Nick of Time and thought to yourself, gee, I wish I could do that all over again? Well, if you did, this one's for you. Time Enough for Play is the Golden Gear's equivalent of Nick of Time, although thankfully this time around it's not as gruelingly difficult as the requirements are far less punishing. So let's have a look to see what's different with this one. So this time around we're going to need to hit a countdown value of 30 during a run of Golden Gears while using the countdown custom dice. In Golden Gears, instead of Mercy, we have Knowledge, which does exactly the same thing, in which stepping on a tile with Knowledge will give us 1 countdown. Thankfully this time, however, stepping on a non-knowledge tile will only reduce our countdown by 1 instead of 3. The initial effect of the dice will apply Knowledge to 2 random domains at the start of plane 1 and 2, but the dice does however reduce our starting countdown value by 5. So with that said, our custom die loadouts will be focused around on spreading as much knowledge as possible. We don't however have access to the Benevolence die face this time around, so there's no huge jumps in countdown from dice rolls, and thus there's really no need for full field coverage, as we only really care about creating enough knowledge to create a path for us to walk from start to finish. So for our loadout, we want Knowledge Principle. This immediately applies knowledge to 1 domain adjacent to each domain with knowledge. So for those of you Nick of Time grinders, you'll recognize this immediately as the Sustenance die face from the Swarm Disaster. This is just as powerful as it was and allows for rapid knowledge propagation throughout the field. General Deduction applies knowledge to 3 random domains that don't yet have knowledge. This is really powerful early on, especially when you're trying to seed the field before you use your principal die face. General Hesitation gives you 1 negative curio and then 1 point of countdown, so this is going to be the equivalent of our Benevolence die, although not as powerful. We'll be using it to get our extra countdown after we've finished creating a path of knowledge to the boss. Using this every turn as we step on knowledge tiles lets us rack up 2 countdown per turn instead of 1. Then we've got Knowledge Extreme. This one's kind of niche since it requires us to step on a domain with knowledge before it applies knowledge randomly to 3 domains on the field. General Entropy is a simple but solid one. It lets us select 1 domain to apply knowledge to, and this can be useful when we're missing that one little gap in our pathing. And then last of all, we've got General Exponential Explosion, which once again, for those of you who have been grinding Nick of Time, you'll recognize this as the Prescription dice from the Swarm Disaster. This die face immediately applies knowledge to all domains adjacent to where you move on that turn.